Hey guys, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is DeLadysigner, and we are back with another speed build video of our city zoo. And in this episode, we are going to build a habitat for the Alpine Ibex from the year pack. I know that I said Ibex in all my other videos, and I guess that's just to blame because I'm Dutch. And I don't know, it's just that I and E, how we pronounce it. Yeah, it just confused me a little bit. But Ibex, it should be, and if it's not the case, do let me know in the comments down below, but I think it's Ibex. But for this one, we used Google again to get some inspiration for this beautiful habitat. Very quickly, I did find a picture that I actually found very interesting. It had like this shelter building, which was basically like blend into the mountain, if we can call it that way. And the zoo where this habitat is located is Salzburg Zoo in Austria. So we are using that zoo and that habitat as inspiration for this city zoo build. So for the viewing area for our guests, I wanted to make sure there was like this separate path a little bit lower from the main path next to the habitat. And there will also be water underneath this path, which we will later basically use as like this drinking spot for the Alpine Ibex. And underneath the path and the water, we will just close this off nicely with some concrete. Now I actually did want to add like these decals and stuff to make it look a little bit older, and I was trying the moss and then I was like, doesn't look like how I want it to be. And actually later on, now I'm recording this voiceover, I'm realizing that I actually did not get back to adding any decals, so I'm probably going to do that in a later stage. So the first thing we place down in the habitat itself is like the new rocky enrichment item. I actually don't really know the official name of it, but you probably all know what I mean. I mean, it's a very obvious big enrichment item if you have the Euro pack, and this one can be used by the Dull Sheep and the Alpine Ibex if I'm correct. Now I will be using this enrichment item more often in this habitat, but more as decoration than actually specifically for them to be able to use it. I think the Ibex is able to use one of these rocky mountains, maybe 1.5. But most of them are probably blocked by the rocks I will be putting down around them, to be honest. Now it definitely looks nice to use these enrichment items like I am doing right now, but you do have to keep in mind that every time you place one down, your terrain will automatically flatten, which can be such a pain in the butt, honestly. So yeah, definitely do keep that in mind. So once I placed down the first rocky enrichment item, I put down some walls and some floors to draw out where I want the shelter to be. This is pretty much located in the middle of the habitat, and we will cover most of the walls later with some faux rocks. So you will only get like this glimpse of the stone wall set on the floor, and later also on the roof of the shelter, by the way. And this to really give like a bit of the feeling like it's being integrated in the mountain behind it, but still in a fake zoo way, if that is the right way to explain it. Hopefully that makes sense. So in the middle of the shelter, just like in the real life picture that I found, there also will be like this cool feeder, which I would actually love to see for real added by Frontier as like this real life feeder, or at least something like similar. Like you see these type of feeders so often in zoos. I am actually surprised like that we don't have them at this point in the game. I really don't understand. Like I never really thought of that, and now that I see the picture, I'm like, yeah, I've seen this like so often in so many zoos. And to give the idea of hay inside of this feeder, I used some kind of African trim, I think it was called, which is actually pretty small, and the only thing I could find that comes close to the idea of having like hay inside of this feeder. It's not perfect, but it definitely gives the idea of this hay feeder that I am going for. So I guess it works. And it's definitely a good one to just use that African trim for these type of feeders, I guess. But unfortunately, they won't be able to use it. And also on the flooring of the shelter, we do add some hay, more for the idea for them to chill and to sleep and yeah, to get some shelter, of course, for the rain or anything like that. Now the habitat itself will obviously be a lot of rock work. Like on the right side, I started some rocky mountains myself with the idea of them to climb on. I'm saying the right side, but I actually mean the left side. But later with decorating, I actually build everything in this way that in no way they are able to climb on there anymore. Obviously, they would have been able to do that in real life, but in Planet Zoo with the traversable area, it's just not possible, unfortunately. And I honestly wasn't really too bothered about it myself, so I did not feel like changing it or anything like that to make sure that they will be able to use it. So for the rock combinations in this habitat, I'm using a combination of the tropical, faux, and the temperate colored rocks for some variety. And the tropical rocks are basically in the same colors as like these enrichment items themselves, like a little bit of the moss and the brown tropical color, I think it is. And for the trees, I simply just only use the Scottish pine trees for a change. Like normally I'm combining a lot of different things from the European continent, but in this case, I just went for the Scottish pine only. So in the beginning, I wasn't quite sure about these trees, but the more I kept placing them down, the more I actually really started to like it. So also the fact that we have like these broken Scottish pine trees to decorate the habitat with was really a big plus in my opinion. As well as like the robbing tree, that is definitely a good one, which also comes as a Scottish pine. I actually never used these robbing trees before. And I saw it in like the European pack overview video and it just looked so amazing that I am actually really happy that we are using these pine trees now for the first time. It looks really, really cool. So for the rest of the shrubs and flowers, I also tried to just stick with the preferences of the Alpine Ibex, which is the taiga in Europe continent, if I remember correctly. So this is pretty much the only biome and continent I use to decorate this habitat with. And I'm actually really happy with how this one has turned out. Like outside of the habitat, we will have like the normal European trees, like the oak trees and stuff. So it definitely will blend in a lot more once everything around the whole habitat is filled in with trees and shrubs and stuff. Now in the original habitat from Salzburg Zoo, you see a pretty steep rock mountain on the backside of the habitat where the ibex can climb on. Now with the traversable area in Planet Zoo, things like that are unfortunately not really possible. But I did try to give the ibex like 3 different height elevations to walk on, and to also give a little bit of the feeling for the guests that they can climb higher in their own habitat. Now I could have chosen to go more crazy with Rocky Mountains like we also did with the Doll Sheep habitat and like City Zoo and Pot Zoo. But for this habitat, I really didn't feel like doing that. Like I wanted to keep it a bit more simple this time. And even though it might be more simple, I'm actually really happy with the end result of this habitat. So I actually really don't mind. So after this habitat, there's only one more European animal left to build a habitat for, and that is going to be the fallow deer. Now I'm actually thinking to use the fallow deer habitat for the ending part of the track ride that we're going to build. I'm not 100% sure yet if I want to do that. I mean, that would mean that the track ride is going to be all kinds of African animals and then a fallow deer, which actually sounds a little bit silly if I mention it like this. So I'm actually not really sure if I should do that now that I think of it. So I don't know. What do you guys think of that idea? Like, obviously, if you see the cinematic shots at the end, you will notice that part of the other side of the path is still not filled in. So that still has to be filled up and stuff. But that is definitely what we're going to do with maybe the fallow deer habitat video, or maybe I'm gonna do one more like we did with the Australia area. Like when we finish that up, I did not really record the finishing up part, but I did record like this tour of this area. So maybe we're going to do the same thing with the European pack. So yeah, I'm going to take some time to fill up everything around this whole European area, and then we're going to do a tour. But first things first, we need to add the fallow deer. I think my favorite animal of the Euro pack. And after that, we go back, of course, to the North American area in our city zoo. But I'm also obviously gonna go back to Abuya Zoo and Pontus Zoo somewhere this month. I'm not going to say like next week or something, but we're definitely very soon are going back to our other zoos as well. So hopefully you guys look forward to that as well. Now do let me know in the comments down below of what you guys think of this habitat, if you like it or not, and if you are, maybe it's hopefully enough for you to get inspired for your own Alpine Ibex or Tall sheep habitat, obviously. Do let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this new city zoo habitat. Leave a like in the video if you guys enjoyed, and subscribe of course if you haven't already. And yeah, I just really do hope to see you guys all in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye guys!